Jay, how's it going, buddy?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm good. What's up? Hey, it's very cool you're in town this week, and we got to connect and have a good lunch and do a podcast now.
I appreciate you having me.
Yeah, for sure. How's the week treating you? Customer meetings lined up and some canvassing?
It's super busy. It's fun to, see customers. I mean, we are traveling all over the place, and we all cover large territories. So, we get to see, some of our top customers maybe 3 times a year. Mm-hmm. So you try to be available enough where you're helpful and you're sharing new information, and but also not bugging them from doing their day-to-day jobs, which are maintaining turbines. Anytime we go, we know that the turbine is the focus. We're trying to support that effort, but we can't visit once a week like you would in other sales industries. It's very sporadic, but we can have really in-depth discussions with our clients and really make sure that we're helping them hopefully run their turbines better.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I don't know what your territory is personally, but I think you get out to Tehachapi area. Is it quarterly? It seems like quarterly. I get a text message. What are you doing for lunch?
I've been coming here more. You kind of go where the business is. But so Tehachapi's gotten a little extra TLC recently from me, but a lot of it has to do with our team. We've had some new person in this area, and want to make sure that they're in a good position, and some really key accounts out here. But I go all over the United States. I think personally 47 states, everything but Alaska, Hawaii, Montana, probably every wind state besides maybe the Northeast. So I love the what turbine, what site. I can play that Jeopardy game pretty well since I've been to most of them. But we just go where the turbines are and help out as best we can.
We were we had someone else on here, and we were having that weird game. Have you been to every site in and pick a state? It sounds like you've been to quite a few.
Maybe I'm a little cocky, but I think 70% of the wind farms probably in the United States.
In the United States. How many years?
The last 11 in the wind industry, 8 with Kurz. And, there's a lot of beautiful places in this country that's, I'll meet someone, they'll say, I'm from rural Iowa. I know you've lived in Iowa for a while. Yeah. Like Northeast Iowa. And they're like, you've never heard of it. I'm like, try me. And a lot of times I've actually been there, and I can make some reference to some restaurants. I go to, I don't know, Stinky Joe's in this town, or, and that gives me credibility with these people that I meet throughout my life, not only just in work.
I think that's part of the piece to sales when it comes to parts and wind energy, right? You've got to go and meet the leadership folks out in the field. Some of it's HQ, procurement, of course, but then knowing the folks in the field and giving them a person to call when they need the part. It's a big deal. You've certainly been putting in the time.
We try to help people, and to help them, you have to know what their problems are and how to support them. Everyone is focusing on different things at different times. Maybe your budget was around project A, but then project B came up, and you have to adjust. So we have to be kind of the conduit between the site people, which is usually the site managers, the admins, the lead techs, and the procurement folks, which can be usually in different states. So that is a lot of face time, a lot of road time. Luckily, my wife is very independent, and not only supports it, appreciates it when I've been around too long. Hey, you've been home. You got to get going. You need to go make some sales. Go visit some customers. I need some space. So,
back to work.
Yeah, it works out. We have a good dynamic that way.
That's fantastic. She would enjoy meeting my wife. That's been our entire marriage.
Yeah, she's used to it.
Yeah, a lot of travel. Well, that's part of the industry. Well, before we get into that too much, why don't you tell us a little bit more about Kurz? Right? I'd like to tell me, and I think I've heard bits and pieces of, origin stories and who we are about Kurz, but give us a little bit.
Sure. So Kurz is a 106-year-old company based in Wisconsin. We have 4 locations, started in 1918. The guy's name is William Kurz. He was very connected to the paper industry in Wisconsin. So he would go to paper mills, pick up their motors, fix them in his garage, and then send them back. He actually had a lot of patents around electromechanical processes that he helped invent even. So very interesting guy. It's mostly been in the family, the Kurz family. Our CEO now, Brian Nowak, his grandfather, I believe, great-grandfather was William Kurz.
Oh,
You didn't know that?
no, family connection. I like it.
For sure. But it morphed from just a pure repair play in Wisconsin to actually a distribution play as well. So you have the repair option or the new option within the state of Wisconsin. So we call that our industrial business. About 10, 11 years ago, we were approached by a repair company in the eastern United States to help them complete up-tower wiring repairs. And we did those for many years and helped them out there. And then we've kind of pivoted more into parts in the last 6, 7 years. I've been responsible for the wind division for 8. We're about 90 employees right now and growing. And we're really trying to grow in other spaces. The last 3, 4 years, we've really developed an automation division, which is custom panels that we manufacture for many industries. And we're really looking to invest in both automation and renewables as a key part of our growth strategy moving forward.
Makes sense. 1918 motors were automation
Right.
of its time. So it sounds like you guys are staying true to your roots. That's for sure.
There's a lot of interesting industries in Wisconsin. I love going to see, and I've been to a few places like a cheese plant, where they manufacture cheese. It's not something you get to see every day, right?
Yeah.
And we do with a lot of forklifts, a lot of mining equipment, paper I mentioned before. So if it's manufacturing, we probably have a pulse on it within Wisconsin. And the wind market's very different from the industrial market, but a lot of our supplier partners also overlap both spaces as well. So we've kind of been able to leverage some of their long-standing relationships in the wind space too.
I'm interested in the pivoting pieces. There's several pivots, and I think you told me a little bit about this before, but what causes Kurz to make those pivots?
We try to figure out what our clients are looking for and adjust to that. Whereas I felt like the repair space, even though we can do repairs, and we are doing some like yaw motor repairs in-house as an example, a lot of the repairs are done by fantastic companies. I'm not going to say anything negative about any other company doing repairs, because I have a lot of respect and frankly, admiration for what they're accomplishing in the repair space. But I felt like the parts, especially when I started at Kurz 8 years ago, was a little bit underserved. And there was a disconnect between what the clients were looking for and the feedback that they were getting on the specific components versus what the manufacturers were maybe even producing, or said another way, just ways we can tweak it to be better, more efficient, last longer, perform better based on that feedback. And I felt like that space wasn't as saturated, and we could make better profits while also, being kind of unique in what we do and being more of a value add to the clients versus, being another Me Too company in a different space.
Yeah, that's what customer service is all about. But it takes a lot of courage for the whole company to pivot and go in a new direction. I love this story. I think we need to hear more of them too, right? So you're talking to your customers, and you've been to 70% of the sites. You get to hear what they want.
And it's all about the relationship. I mean, you're not going to go to a customer and say, "What's your problem?" Because they're going to clam up and not tell you what's actually going on. You have to say, "Hey, I'm here to support you. Here are some things that we do already. Does any of that overlap with what your needs are?" And then take that and perform, basically. They give you chances, they give you nibbles of the bite, and then you help them out. You give them timely responses. You give them fair pricing, and you try to wow them as best you can with customer service, and then hear more about different things as they come up.
Customer service is a big part of it. The other piece out in the field, I bet, is that you need to speak the technical lingo. Am I right about your products? You
Absolutely.
really need to know it.
And for us, that means a lot of trainings with our suppliers. We do 2-3 hour trainings where a manufacturer has 40, 50 slides on a PowerPoint just going through their offerings. And we're trying to take that information that's broad but important and distill it to what an actual wind owner operator would actually be needing. And there's definitely a skill in that, making sure that the value prop is what you think it is. Because if I think it's great and is the best product that exists, and it's not price competitive, it's quadruple the price, and it's not that big of a problem, they're not going to actually buy it, right? So the price has to be there, the value has to be there, and just your relationship with the customer to make sure that they actually have the need. And if it's a new solution, a new technology, a new something, is there enough pain or engineering resources to approve a new solution? They're not going to, as much as clients like me, and I try to use the word clients because it's not a customer to me. It's like a client. It's an ongoing relationship. It's not transactional. So if I say customer, I'm trying to not to do that. Client relationship.
Client it is.
If I'm supporting clients correctly and I understand the value prop, then we can work together. But if there's not the need, then they're not going to buy it. No matter how good they think I am, how cool they think I am, whatever, it has to be the right fit for them.
No, makes sense. Let's thank our friends over at Renew Safety, your proactive partner in safety solutions. With comprehensive safety consulting, ensuring compliance with all safety regulations and standards. Expert staffing solutions, providing trained safety professionals tailored to your project's needs. Commitment to sustainability, promoting a safe and sustainable working environment. Contact Renew Safety at info@renewsafety.com and speak to one of their industry experts about their proven track record for safety management on numerous projects. Or perhaps you're looking for construction safety staffing, contractor monitoring, incident investigation, or program development and training. Check out Renew Safety at renewsafety.com. The fact that you're out there and you must have a sales team.
Correct.
It's not just you doing this, right? There's
8 of us currently. I'm thinking next year it'll be 10 or 11, hopefully.
Okay.
So in terms of like our technical support, we're hoping to know 70% of what, I use that number again, 70% of what the supplier knows, because we're not going to know as much as they that's all they sell, right? We basically have about 40 different manufacturers that we really support super heavily. And so if we get to 70% in the broad stuff and the basic stuff, and then someone asks us some question we've never heard of, we're going to go ask them, hey, so-and-so at this wind farm asked us this, and how would you answer it? Is this correct? Is this not correct? But so we want to be technical advisors. And when a customer comes to me and says, when a client says to me, what's the latest and greatest? Meaning, what are you hearing about new products? What are you hearing about technology changes, or what's even happening in my own company sometimes? That's a good compliment, meaning that they see us as that technical resource. And of the people we have, 4 of them worked at owner-operators previously, which I think allows us to be more empathetic to their needs. When we hear the magic words, down tower, next day air, overnights, that's our signal to us to stop everything we're doing and try to help. And we can't do everything, no company can, but we try to at least be responsive, and people aren't guessing if we can do it or not. We can at least respond right away, hopefully. But I'm really proud of the team. I manage the team, but ultimately they are the key people, and I just help advise them and prioritize things for them.
Yeah, fantastic. Okay, you said empathetic because you were tuning into keywords, but you don't know those keywords until you speak the language. That's the I always call it the technician language, right?
Sure.
Because those are the folks really keeping all of the turbines running. And that technician language is what it's built on. That's the foundation. It's the common language, and you've got to learn it about the components, about the turbines, about the tools even. And then when you bring in your new components, so we talked about, Kurz is definitely focused on what the customer needs. Loved that piece. Maybe about components a little bit. What are some maybe key products or trending parts that you're seeing right now?
We are very heavily focused on the generator space in terms of the components. We have a wonderful partnership with Mersen, who've been longstanding partners for us with Kurz. We have a very strong offering and partnership with Svenborg on their high-speed brake components, their yaw components, their hydraulic power units. Very much appreciate that relationship. We have a lot of oil and grease manufacturers that we partner with and stock a lot of their products. We have some pitch motors, both new and rebuilt. We have pitch slip rings. We have converter repairs that we're doing through third parties. That's becoming a big market for us. And a lot of encoders, especially on the pitch encoders. So very, like I said, 40 suppliers typically that we partner with. And we want to make sure, we'd rather have 40 companies where we have hopefully at minimum like great relationships with than 100 where they're like, they're not really that useful or not that helpful. They only call us when they need us. We try to be collaborative with them and provide information from the field. And sometimes the suppliers will actually tweak their products based on our feedback if it's not super complicated or difficult to do, or future generations. Maybe they had generation 1 and we help them develop generation 2 based on client feedback. So we try very hard to take good or bad. Like, I don't want to just go to them and say, hey, this sucks. This is not what you thought it was. It's actually, this is what you should have done. But if it's doing great and the customer loves it and they're happy about it, then we try to share that with them too.
Oh, that's wonderful. All right. So you and your team, you're all 3-4 questions technically deep.
We hope to be, yeah. We try very hard. We're not climbing every day. So we do climb. I think there's 4 of us on the team that are climb certified. And typically we're climbing with our manufacturing partner. Let's say they're wanting to test something out and we have a customer that's, wants that data and wants to collect information. I've never heard a customer say, hey, Jay said it, let's do it. And we're going to do that moving forward. No, they want to validate it. They want to take 3 months, 6 months, a year sometimes. And we need to climb multiple times to help them get that data. And it's up to them if they want to proceed forward, but we're just giving them the information so they can make their own decisions.
Well, that's fantastic. All right. I don't know if I've heard from other sales folks that they're climb certified.
Oh, yeah.
And going up tower with clients or suppliers. That's unique, I think. Maybe I'm wrong.
I think it gives us credibility. And I love when a lead technician or technicians up tower with us, and we can literally just say, hey, what does this do? What does that do? And they're captive. They're up there with us. So we're there for the test, but we're just genuinely curious people, and they can explain things. And sometimes it clicks to us. Oh, that one company told us this 6 months ago, and I didn't know what they were talking about. Now I've seen it. Now I understand it. Now I can communicate better when I go to other people with that same turbine type. So we try to climb as much as we can, but there has to be a reason, right? They're not going to just say, well, Jay wants to climb, let's go climb. There has to be a purpose and a mission behind it. But
yeah. Okay, I got to share just a thought, and from maybe a little story as well. All the site visits that I used to go on in my previous jobs, I would always ask after the morning meeting, what you guys been working on? And without a doubt, several would go, come on out here, take a look. There's always broken stuff in the shop.
Absolutely.
Always broken stuff in the shop. That was my favorite part of going to any site for any reason, was being able to tear something apart with the techs out there and hear about how many have they been replacing? What are they finding? Can they fix it up tower? They bring it down? What do we need to do to stop it from failing? and would typically be late for every meeting the rest of the day because that was just way too much fun. And you really learned about the components and what the team needs.
And everyone has different preferences, right? They have history. They might say, oh, at this time, this was a problem. But what they're not always understanding is the manufacturers aren't producing the same products either. Like they've changed and they've evolved and they've taken feedback typically. So maybe what was the best product in 2015 is not the best product in 2024, right? But some of them have very long memories. And well, I did that test 8-9 years ago and a lot's moved. So for us, we have to keep our pulse on the industry and keep listening and keep adjusting because the technology advances in this industry it moves fast. And one client said to us, you always seem to be 2 to 3 years ahead of everybody else. And it's not an accident. It's very intentional. We heard that product, we heard that comment, we heard that feedback, and we tried to make it work for them. And the second in this industry, you think you know everything, you're done.
No.
It's impossible. So you have to stay humble. And like you said, with the warehouse visit specifically, I'm talking to these manufacturers, these technicians and these site managers, admins, whoever we're out there with, they're focused on their one platform. They may not understand why something is the way it is. And maybe with an explanation, hey, the reason that this is like this is because of that. And I understand why you're saying that to me, but this was the logic at least. Ultimately, we're going to give them what they want. I mean, we're Burger King. They can have it their way, right?
First parts distributor to say that to me? Sure.
That was Miss Thompson in 7th grade. Still remember that all these years later. Okay. But
usually I hear it the other way around. We're not Burger King.
Yeah.
You don't
we want to be. We want to be.
But that's good.
But, there's markets that we're not in, right? Like, for example, there's a lot of people that are doing the cards and repairing the cards, and that's a big market. There's a lot of companies who have put a lot of time, resources, money into being a card repair company. We're not.
Well, yeah, fair enough. Sure, there's just more electronics today.
For sure.
More software, more firmware, yes.
And we have to know what we're good at and what we're not as good at, right? And if certain companies that's their focus and that's what they want to do, I wish them well, and I hope that they can create sustainable parts that perform better, last longer, are less expensive. I think we all in this industry have the same goal, which is to make sure it works, right? It has to be cost effective. It has to matter to people. And if we can innovate and help lower the costs and help improve the reliability, that's a win.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's a lot more than just electronics growing too. There's still plenty of motors and hydraulics and gear oils and bearings and all the other pieces that are needed. Those strategic alliances, you listed some wonderful companies that Kurz is aligned to. I was just thinking, Merzen, were they with you when we met in San Diego?
They were, yes.
I thought so.
Very good memory. 2017?
2017?
Something like that.
Okay. Yep. Yeah, I hadn't met those folks either at that time. So you've been running around strengthening those relationships quite a few years now.
It really matters to make sure that they know what's going on with you, what your strategy is, that they feel like they're in a partnership with you. And because they are. Mm-hmm. If we're not successful selling their products, we're going to fail, and vice versa, right? So we haven't batted 100%. We've signed up suppliers and couldn't find the right market fit for whatever reason, whether it was price, whether it was quality. Maybe someone was doing a great job and there wasn't actually a need because some company made this great product. There was one company I liked that we were trying to sell parts for. They had AI software for blade inspections. And I thought that would be a really fascinating market where we could help bring this company with the technology into the wind space. And what I found out was the companies in that space, at least among my customers, had long-term agreements and were really happy with whoever they were working with before. And we had to say, hey, I appreciate you reaching out to us. We tried it. And we have to go focus on other areas now.
To analyze blade photos.
Correct.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I'm familiar. It's fantastic AI out there. But you're right. There are a few very reputable, good players in that space. We'd like to thank our sponsors, 3S Lift, a global supplier of safety and access solutions with a focus on wind energy. Their innovative ladder-mounted single technician lift called the Climb Auto System completely eliminates the need to climb ladders up to 120 meters. And if you've ever climbed in the freezing cold of North Dakota or the sweltering heat of South Texas, you know the safety and efficiency value that this product brings to wind technicians and owner-operators. In North America, 3S has installed over 15,000 of these lifts and are installing 200 per week. If your site is still climbing, you should contact 3S Lift at info@3samericas.com to get your quote to retrofit your turbines, or go on their website, 3slift.com, to learn more. I hear you. You're gathering intelligence from your clients, not customers, and putting it to work to improve upon curves. And what else can we do for the customer, and in what area?
Can I give an example of that?
Please.
I was in Nebraska in 2018, and a guy that I've known for many years in my previous position, asked me, he goes, "Do you do hoses?" Which I said, no. What? Like, why? Like, why do you want me to do hoses? What's interesting? And at the time, and it's improved, there was lead time issues, some 30, 40 weeks on hoses. They were failing quickly. There was no traceability. And so they were having to replace the hose, replace the oil, clean up the oil, and then have all the downtime associated with a failure of that part. And the downtime was more expensive than the hose. And if you're waiting 30 weeks for a $500 part, it's a lot of downtime. So we took some failed hose, sent them to a lab in Ohio, used the leading gear oil manufacturers to basically try to break it, make it fail, see if we could replicate what was happening, because there's some wind additives to help the gearboxes perform better. For example, you don't want the turbine to catch on fire, so there's flame stuff in the oil, right? That's good for helping a turbine not catch on fire, but is bad for making a rubber hose material last longer, right?
Oh, so it ruins the hose material.
Correct.
Starts to disintegrate.
Correct.
Yeah.
And it causes premature failures.
Yeah.
So we tried about 25 different rubber compounds to understand what would work with all three of the biggest gear oil manufacturers. We chose a mining grade hose. That's what it was designed for. Then we climbed all the turbines throughout different platforms, and it got some samples. We'd find some, we call them gearbox graveyards, where they were repowered and they were basically being stripped apart. We would sit there before they ripped them open and just take all the hose measurements.
Sure. Okay. Well, that's a great way to get the intelligence. Right. Absolutely.
And through that, we went from a 30-week hose that was not designed for the application to a stocked material that is upgraded. There are born-on dates. There are batch numbers. There's a Kurz logo, a Kurz part number. There is any sort of information. So there's no guessing. What does this hose go to? What application is this for? If someone's like, what is a 689456? They can call us. That's your cooler filter to gearbox manifold hose, and we can send that to you in 2 days.
Is that an actual part number?
It's probably close.
That's pretty good. That's pretty good.
I know a few of them, not all of them.
And are these high pressure hydraulic, low pressure gear oil? Both? We
started with the gearboxes, and that's kind of how we built this market, and it's transitioned more into hydraulics recently. And we feel like that's actually a pretty big market for us, but there's so many applications and so many different designs and so many different variations of these turbine OEMs. And again, like I said before, as soon as you think you know everything,
No.
there's a new variation, right? There's a new revision on a gearbox. There's a new mark or a new, I don't know all the nomenclature, but there's a lot of different variations depending on what's going on. Whether company A or company B from different hydraulic manufacturers made that system for the same turbine, it could change some of the configurations. So of our SKUs, we have about 30% of them are hoses now.
30% of your SKUs are hoses. Can we list off the OEMs? Which ones do you have hoses for?
Almost all of them.
Really?
But not every type, right? It just depends on which.
I mean, like you have GE hoses, but maybe not every gearbox or turbine platform?
I would think that's the one we've put more effort on.
Okay.
And had more demand for. So I think we should have 35, 40 different gearboxes that we've documented so far and growing. But on the hydraulic side, that seems to be what's building for us now. And it seems to be what we feel like the need is going to. And, if a hydraulic hose fails in the hub of a turbine, it gets in the blade, it gets in the accumulators, it can cause a lot of downstream impact. So you're not only just replacing a hose that might be, say, a $200, $300 hose, you might have to replace, a lot of stuff if the oil gets everywhere, and also clean up the oil, and hopefully it stays in the turbine, and that becomes a lot more of a problem if it somehow leaves it.
I'm just going to add in the safety risk. This thing, it's so slippery. It's so slick. Up and down the ladder, moving around. Even, you get catwalks and expanded metal that are good for friction and grabbing on your feet. But, boy, you get some of that good oil on there.
But the whole reason we did hoses, not because we wanted to.
Yeah.
It wasn't like, I woke up one day, I was like, let's do hoses. It's because a client asked us to. And because the client asked us to, we invested the time, the effort, the energy to build an offering. And to me, the value of the offering is the data behind all the different configurations, and then the reputation we have based on the testing that we did.
Yep. No, I love you keep saying that. You listen to the customer, right? It's not your idea. It's the client's idea. I'll work on it. Client, not customer. And that was that late 2018?
Yes, and that's been a nonstop, ongoing project ever since. We haven't been perfect. We've definitely thought it was a 90-degree angle and it was a 270. And I think our clients realize that we're trying to help them and make things better for them. So they're giving us a little bit of grace when we're we're learning some of these situations. For example, one manufacturer might have 4 different filter systems on their gearboxes, which a different filter causes a different hose, right? And I didn't even know in some cases that there was a difference between a Krun or a Paul or a 4-all or a Hydac. They're all different, and that changes the hose lengths and the fittings in many cases.
Sure. It's not just the filter material itself, but it's the entire housing.
Correct.
And the flow process. Yeah. No, it comes with the hardware and then the hoses.
Yeah.
All right. So late 2018, I was just thinking about that. You then knew about it before I did. For me, it was the hose crisis of 2019.
Okay.
I lived through some of it as well, hunting for hoses. It spilled over into 2020 a bit and was difficult from, the place that, the job that I had at the time. And so you knew about it before I did.
And what did you think was the solution? What did you think was needed to fix the problem?
Well, I worked for one of the best OEMs in the planet. So it was, we need to just make our own hoses.
Sure.
Was sort of my thought about it. And yes, improve the material type so the degradation to the hose, wasn't occurring as often just because of the lubricant that was going in. and lubricants continue to change. And I don't know enough about this, but there are more additives today than I ever heard about, early in life, kind of learning about composition of oil and lubricants that now extend life and decrease hazardous material that are floating around. And there's a lot chemically going on. So it makes sense that the material that the oil's flowing through, not just the gear, and the bearing, but the hoses are a key component. Need to be upgraded.
We've had a lot of conversations with different oil and grease manufacturers, and I think at first you're like kind of, at least I was, overwhelmed by all the different data and all the different things they were saying. But the more I learn about it, and this goes for the industry in general, not just the oils and greases, the more interesting it is, right? There's actually a lot of science, a lot of technology, a lot of thought and effort into trying to make it work better, last longer. There's some 10-year warranties now on some gearbox oils.
Yeah.
That wasn't a thing 10 years ago, was it?
Nope.
So it just shows how much belief they have in the product and how long they think it's going to last, and the confidence that these manufacturers have when they're producing products now.
Sure. Well, they're making changes. Causes other variables. Helps Kurz out if you're listening to your clients.
Absolutely.
Yeah, no, that's good. I was trying to think about when I started studying those oils. It was when the first time I heard of the proper name, and I don't know if you can look it up, Jacob, but it's a person who studies oil, an engineer. Do you know this?
Tribologist. I have a good story. So I went to...
what a name. I thought, that's a cool name. What's that?
I went in 2016. There's a lot of different conferences to the...
Tribologist. Yeah, sorry.
The Argonne. Have you been to that?
No.
And it was basically like bearing manufacturers, oil and grease manufacturers. They're all explaining what's going on in the wind industry for like 2-3 days. And at the time, the big thing was white etching cracking, right? And big problem that was in the wind industry at the time. Do you remember this?
Tell me.
You know all about it, right?
No, tell me.
Okay. Well, these companies all had different solutions to the white etching cracking, and hearing two different oil companies or two different bearing manufacturers who saw the same problem and had a different solution for that problem is fascinating, right? Because especially back then, I had no idea who was right. And hearing them, politely disagree with each other, some not so politely, was just fascinating. Just to be in the room with these people that had a way higher IQ than I did, and do. Ultimately, I think that problem seems to have been solved. It doesn't seem to be ongoing as much as I'm aware of. I'd love your feedback on it.
Oh, I haven't heard anything new. I think it's more about the additive game to extend the life, right?
For sure.
Yeah. And, okay, 10's great. Can you go 20? Sure. It's always, how do you improve? Yeah. They need to be listening to their clients as well.
Well,
yeah.
And I mean, these approval processes on oils and greases is 3-4 years. I mean, the gearbox is one of the most, and the hydraulic systems are some of the most important parts of the tower. So that has to work. If your gearbox does not work, your wind turbine does not work, period, right? There's some situations where you can say, oh, well, we had, let's say, 8 yaw motors and one of them's bad. Well, maybe you can run it on 7 for a little bit. Should you? Probably not. Can you? For a little bit, yeah. But if your gearbox doesn't work, the turbine's down.
This is true. Yep. There are very few things you can do once in a while to derate or depower if you can limp it along a little while. But you're right. It is crucial. But if you're not being able to lubricate all of the gears and bearings, et cetera, with the oil because you're losing it, no pressure, no operation.
Yeah. Oh, well, and I mean, I heard one gearbox on one turbine where there wasn't even a fault registered until 90 gallons leak out. Not even a sensor on it. And I'm just like, that is pretty remarkable to think that much oil can leak before anyone's even notified of it, right?
Sounds like a little bit of a boo-boo somewhere else, maybe. So I don't think that's normal.
I don't think so. I hope not. But
maybe a couple other boo-boos
sure.
along the way. But things happen for sure. Yeah. All right. And hoses are still in high demand today?
Absolutely. It's a growing market for us, and it's something we deal with almost every day, and we're happy to support however we can, and we have to keep climbing towers to get new documentations done and getting samples in. I mean, for us, we have, I guess, 3 different ways. If someone can send us a hard sample to our lab, we can reverse engineer it, hopefully. And sometimes the fittings are off the shelf. Hey, this is a standard thing, and we've seen this 100 times before. And sometimes we have to make it from scratch, which can take sometimes 9 months to build some really unique fitting with a horseshoe bend and a oil spill thing on it. So it's a lot of effort to buy it from the European supplier, ship it to the United States, chrome plate it, and then have it ready to go for when the hose needs are there. But that market is a really key and critical market for us. And one of the things I'm most proud of, again, because it was done because we needed to, not because we wanted to. In fact, I had a new person on the team, and he's like, we should do this because the customer said so. And I was like, I agree, but just know it's going to be a lot of time and a lot of effort, and we cannot, just like you in this amazing podcast thing you set up here, you can't go in halfway. You have to go in all the way, or it's not going to work.
That's right. You're going to step up to the plate, take a big swing.
Exactly.
Just might hit it.
Yeah, right?
We'd like to thank our sponsor, Altair Energy Services, and their highly trained, expert technical staff, leveraging decades of renewable power management experience into customized solutions for everyone to meet their energy goals and contribute to a better future for all. Altair's team of hardworking, respected experts are providing full-scope, turnkey repairs, planned and unplanned maintenance, system upgrades, fully autonomous technical crews, supplemental staffing, and customized dynamic scheduling to fit your power production needs. Contact Altair at info@altairenergyservices.com and learn more about their wide range of capabilities across multiple power technologies and platforms. What about generators? You talked a lot about motors and generators. What are you doing in that space?
Primarily through our Merson partnership. We're supporting with a lot of carbon brush inventory. I mean, I think we typically stock $400,000 to $500,000 of Merson at any time in our Wisconsin locations. Our inventory in general is a couple $1 million of targeted inventory for clients. We try really hard to understand the needs of our clients and say, oh, I have this, let's say, yaw puck change out coming, and I'm going to need more pistons and more pucks than I do typically. So can you have them ready to go? We'll try to take that information and adjust to the feedback even before an order in many cases. And ultimately with Merson, it's like we have that legacy of history. We collaborate closely with them. We talk at minimum quarterly. I had lunch with their sales manager a week and a half ago and discuss, okay, here's opportunities, here's what we've heard, here's what we can do about it collectively. And those are the kinds of partnerships that we're looking for in the wind space with our suppliers. It needs to be two-sided. If they're happy, and because we're buying a lot, but we're not able to sell it, or don't know how to communicate their value properly, it's not a great fit. If they've told us a lot and we're not buying anything or not selling anything, it's not a good fit either. So it has to be in both directions with our partners.
Yeah. But there's still a demand.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, quite a demand.
Oh, I think we talked about this at lunch a little bit. The things that limit you in the wind space are your imagination, your willpower, and your focus. And if you can keep those things in order and can prioritize the most important requests from your clients and juggle all the different things going on, there's a lot of opportunity. And I think that we've ultimately been successful because we can help prioritize.
Yeah. Okay. I remembered my question. Well, you said you were reverse engineering the hoses, and because I spent so much time at an OEM.
Sure.
Are there patents or, IP and things you got to work around or worry about when you're doing that?
We haven't run into that. If anything, we've actually had OEMs come to us and ask us, not only from the turbine OEMs, but from the manufacturers of hoses, or even the manufacturer of gearboxes or hydraulic systems. Some of them have said, one of them most prominently at the Clean Power Show back in May, who's a leading company in the space, was, hey, we want to design the whole system. We don't want to do just hoses. We struggle with that because of the lead times, because of the uniqueness of it. We have to ship them from another country, and the lead times and logistics are just not what we want to do. We want to sell entire systems, not a part. So if anything, they want us to do more of it.
Yeah.
But they feel, and I respect this from them and from other different people in this space, they feel a responsibility to help. And because they designed the system, and because that they, even though it's not what they want to sell, they do it anyways, because that's what their customers are looking for from them.
I love that. It's all for the common goal. Mm-hmm. No, that's fantastic. All right, Jay, let me just transition for us. We got to do a little bit of the what's up career discussion.
Sure.
So could you tell us, what was your career path, and what does it look like to become Jay Austin?
So I had a really unique college internship that kind of got me down this path, ironically. I was working for a lighting fixture manufacturer.
Okay.
And the guy I was supposed to report to as an intern quit like the week before, left for a different job. They didn't know what to do with me. I was just kind of like up in the air for a couple days. And they ended up putting me with the VP of sales of the whole company. And basically, he wanted to help grade his agents on performance. They had 60 distributors across the 50 states, and I think it was 4 or 5 regional sales reps that were actually monitoring the behavior. So I put together these spreadsheets, which was really challenging, actually, getting data from all these different parts of the company. Some intern is asking your research guy, your pricing guy, your whatever, for all this data. And I was able to do that twice in one summer when they couldn't do it for 3-4 years before. And that got me a lot of, I guess, high level sales expertise, because people are asking me, okay, what does this data point mean on this spreadsheet? And I have to understand it. This is what the brand said. This is what they wanted. This is how you should communicate it when you're delivering this dashboard to your distributor in the space. This is what you should say about it. So that was a really unique experience. From there, I graduated. I considered getting into insurance,
okay,
sales, and I almost did. I actually went to a seminar. I'm from South Carolina originally, in Charlotte.
All right.
And listened to an insurance company speak. They're a quarterly business review for the region. And they gave me homework, and they were like, go practice and see if you'd like it, and go sell this to 5 people.
Sure.
And in that market, you're supposed to sell to like 180 cold calls a week, new people a week.
Sure.
And I did it with my cousin as just a practice run, right? And her husband. And I was like, went through the motions of how to sell this insurance and what their needs were. And she's like, you're the 4th person that I'm friends with that's called me about insurance. And I'm just like, wow, this is just asking them, so what's your plan when you die?
Yeah.
What's your plan when this happens? Just an awkward conversation. And
so you like sales, not the topic there.
Not the topic, yeah. Yeah, and so I ended up going to electrical wholesale distribution. And again, I was in a program. They didn't have a spot for me. I worked in a warehouse for 1.5 years, my first job out of college. I just had a degree. You think you've done something. And then what I've realized now is you work hard in high school to get into a good college. You do well in college to get into a good job. Do well at a good job that,
mm-hmm.
It's a progression, right?
That's right.
You start over at every step.
That's right.
I didn't realize that in the work. I thought, oh, I've got the college. I'll have my job. I've arrived. I was wrong. It was terrible. I was a fool. And even though I had a college degree and the people I worked with mostly didn't, I was the one making the mistakes. I was the one going too fast. I was the one who would, misread a part number or pull the wrong item or whatever. And I learned basically that I'm no better than anyone else. I'm not smarter. I'm not better looking. Definitely not that. I'm not anything. And what I could control was my attitude, my effort, and how I treat other people.
Oh, wonderfully put.
Thank you. And, I think that helped me at a young age, 22 years old, first job out of college. And there's no difference in people in the warehouse, even though I had a degree and they didn't. So I ended up going to inside sales at that same company. I was supposed to train under a guy for 6 months to learn the industry and to get that sales experience from him as I transitioned from the warehouse to inside sales.
Mm-hmm.
A different guy who had a very dry sense of humor came up to me and said, "Hey, Jay, I quit and I'm going to direct competitor." And I didn't know him. I'd been in the office for just a week. And I thought he was joking. He was not joking. He literally left and I never saw him again.
Oh.
And guess who got all of his accounts?
Uh-oh.
The new guy.
The new guy.
Didn't know anything.
Timing's a little bit of luck helps.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, I got exposed to a lot of clients in that space and, struggled to survive basically. I had another older guy with 30 years of experience who I got to know really well. And he was in the cubicle next to me. The guy that was supposed to train me for 6 months basically allowed me to do the job without his insight. And we developed a really close friendship. We went to lunch every day. There's a place that he loved called Skins Hot Dogs in Greenville, South Carolina. And on his retirement day, I gave him a t-shirt from the hot dog place and a bottle of tequila that I had got from Mexico, and apparently it's still on his fireplace at his house.
Cool.
And I still talk to him every once in a while, even though that was probably, I don't know, 9-10 years ago. More than that, 12, 13 years ago.
Right.
So I still have a friendship with him, even though we're pretty different people and different ages and demographics.
To take this time to thank another one of our wonderful sponsors, Podge Engineering. Podge Engineering, making wind and solar all we know it can be. Are your renewable energy assets underperforming or not performing at all? Did you expect many years of longevity and they're failing on you now? Podge LLC offers many customized, engineered products and solutions to get these assets back on track. Podge Engineering also performs root cause analysis, engineering services, procurement, and construction. Visit podge.org. That's PADGE.org. Remember Podge, making wind and solar all we know it can be.
He was a mentor.
For sure.
Yeah.
And I had an opportunity to go to a different company, which exposed me to the wind space. I had to leave all my friends and family and home. I'm from South Carolina. I love South Carolina. I never thought I'd ever live anywhere else. I was really content, very supportive family growing up. And I had to move, and I was given the option at the time of Dallas, Pittsburgh, or St. Louis. And the girl I was dating at the time was from St. Louis. So it kind of made my choice for me, right?
Yeah.
Even though she was not living in the state then. And I said, if I have this sales territory and this product grouping that I didn't understand, I better do something. I didn't want to be bad at my job. If I'm moving far away, I have to work hard to succeed, right?
More risk.
Well, and you always have to bet on yourself in life. And so I worked really hard. I tried my best. I was exposed to a lot of different industries, including winds. The industries I liked the best were wind, number one, and locomotive industry, number two. I loved learning about the locomotive industry. And I thought it was fascinating just how they worked and the machines and the people and
They are fascinating. That's
right?
true.
And actually in Tehachapi,
You got to go to the train museum, see
two
the loop.
industries, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. In my hotel, there's 2 pictures of turbines and 2 pictures of trains.
Have you been to the loop?
I have not.
Oh, buddy. It's
I gotta go.
15 minutes
We're going
outside
after
of
this.
town. You got to see the loop.
Okay.
All right. When did you get to Kurz?
I got offered I was calling on Kurz. My then boss at the at the time knew me for 2 years. He asked me if I want to take over a wind division that they were doing. I said yes, and basically tried to figure it out ever since. And it's constantly a battle, constantly something that I'm learning from. I've had a great time. I've had a great experience. Developing a wind culture within an older company was challenging at first because they weren't used to the speed and the requirements of this industry, but felt really supported, and they took some risks with me as I tried new products and made inventory purchases and tried different kinds of marketing. And I'm very grateful for my team at Kurz, and I've tried my best to repay their faith in me.
Oh, that's fantastic. Jay, thank you for sharing the career progression. I know it doesn't get shared a lot. Hoping that we get to, tell those stories and educate all the new folks that are joining this industry and give them some more ideas about different career paths. And, what I heard as a common theme on yours was the passion that you had behind it. You ended up with some passion, not just for sales. That was a skill, maybe a natural ability that you wanted to build on and strengthen about yourself, but you took it into wind. And somehow you got to the point where there's the passion, and I think you were getting there, but what excites you the most about this industry?
I love the innovation. I love the people. I mean, 98% of the people in this industry I just love, and I think they're great. And when you really, you can try harder when you appreciate the people you're working with. I find the machines interesting, just how they work, how they operate, what changes are being done to them, how they're evolving and transitioning over time. The business is interesting. How they, what they're focusing on, how they sell turbines, what the PPA agreements are like, how these owner operators decide to do what kinds of service jobs they do. It's just I don't know, I feel like this is where I belong. This is what I like doing, and I feel very fortunate to be doing it.
That's wonderful. I had a couple of things I wanted to hit before you had to leave, but just on the passion piece, you mentioned something about a scholarship program earlier. What's that about?
We've tried to find the easiest possible way on kurzwind.com to give money back to college students who are looking to get into the wind industry. And what we thought would be the easiest way to help pick a student was to actually give 4 $1,000 scholarships. And so $1,000 is not a lot of money, but we said, okay, how do we make it easy? So it's a 1-minute video of why they want to get into renewable energy. And we get about 25 or so applicants per year. I can't remember if it's the 5th or 6th year that we've done it. But it's also great to meet future leaders in the industry. I was at the Clean Power Show, and one of the scholarship applicants, not even recipient applicants, came up to me and said, I just thought I'd want to meet you because of, the scholarship and the encouragement. And I don't know, that just warmed my heart to have that conversation.
That must have been a local then.
No, this person was from Ohio, but they had got into the wind industry. I didn't know them. I mean, we have people from all over the country who apply to these scholarships, and hearing their stories and helping give them insight. I've helped, 2 or 3 of them apply for jobs, go through their resumes and give them feedback and give them contacts. One of your former colleagues who's an engineer in New York, I introduced him to, and they applied for a job there. So I hired one kid actually that I met through the scholarship, and he worked for us for a couple of years before he had to move to a different place and wanted to transition careers. So it's something I'm really proud of, the scholarship that we're doing. And I encourage anyone that's in college who wants to get renewable energy to apply for it.
Well, kids, there's more than just a scholarship if you apply for Kurz scholarship program. There's some great people to meet and some networking there. That sounds like it's instant. You guys are fostering.
If you got to ask, hungry mouths get fed. If you want me to help you, let me know. I'll try. I may not know every answer to every question, but if I can, I will.
Yeah. No, it shows, Jay, that passion and energy you have towards the industry and towards what you do. It's encouraging. I hope it's encouraging to others too. What do you see as what's next for Kurz? You got some new focus bits or initiatives that you can share?
We're looking very heavily into acquisitions, trying to become even stickier in the space. I mean, we have a pretty niche market. It's aftermarket parts with people who are primarily self-operating their machines. And for us, that could lead into BOP stuff, that could lead into tools, that could lead into international sales, which we're actually seeing a lot of requests. The same machines that are in the United States or in other places, not only like Canada, but like Vietnam and Turkey and Mexico. We have a big Mexican quote out right now.
Did I hear you say you were going to Hamburg?
I'm going to Hamburg, yeah.
Okay.
But that's more for meeting our supplier partners than actually to sell customers. A lot of the manufacturers that we work with are based in Europe. And so we try to see a couple factories and learn that side of things. And someone asks the question about how something works, I hopefully can have a pretty good answer. And
I mispronounced that too. I need to apologize to my German colleagues. It's Hamburg. Thank you.
And ultimately, it's a relationship business, and the suppliers have to know that you're looking out for them, you're supporting them, and ultimately the POs is the number one way, but also the conversations is number two, right?
Yeah, well, you probably don't get one without the other.
But in other markets, I mean, there's a lot of solar possibilities. There's more repair, there's more service. So we're looking at a lot of different avenues in terms of acquisitions. In terms of...
Could you talk about this piece?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
And in terms of helping support clients, we're trying to supplement, not replace, supplement our conversations that we have with our clients with an online web store where clients or even strangers can see what we have, and if they choose to buy online, if they want to just reach out to us and get a price availability for clients, they can see our stock levels, they can buy directly from it. But we're hoping that just the awareness, I mean, we've grown our SKUs exponentially since I've been here, and a lot of times people don't realize all the things that we can do. And the e-commerce is mostly for awareness and also just for ease of use for our client base.
Yeah, no, it's fantastic. And it makes it easy too for maybe one of the managers, one of your sites, one of your companies.
There's new people in this industry,
I wonder
right?
if Kurz has any before I just go and call Jay.
But I mean, there's a lot of, it's hard to climb towers. It's hard to do that job. And there's a lot of people that are new to the space. I mean, the machines are aging. There's more of them. And just because you went to a site 2 years ago doesn't mean they're thinking the same way now. So having that awareness, if you Google some part number, a manufacturer part number, an OEM part number, hopefully we're going to show up and they'll like us enough to give us a call and reach out to us.
Yeah, well, it sounds like they will, and you guys are getting out there and making sure that you're building those relationships with your clients and continue to sell. So this was fantastic. I love that you shared so much about Kurz, the team, and not just the products and services, but also sort of the mission and spirit of the company.
Well, perfect. Well, thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure.
Wonderful. We can't end this without you telling us one more time those 3 things that a person can control.
Your attitude, your effort, and how you treat other people.
Attitude, effort, and how you treat other people. That's fantastic advice. I love it. Thanks for coming, Jay.
Thank you.
All right.